Good evening. You're welcome to day 25 of the Woman Called You Do Over January, where we're hoping to successfully conclude our 31 days to declutter and deconstruct the mind to gain clarity. As a preamble, I would just briefly like to say what the Woman Called You is about. For those of you who are probably joining us for the first time today, the Woman Called You is simply a platform of women who are committed, applying ourselves daily to inspire change through personal growth. And this 31 day series happens to be one of the kind of tools we use to develop ourselves and just ensure that we're in a position where we're able to give out of what we have and not just give when you know you don't have, because there's a saying, you can't give what you don't have. So we inspire change. Over the last 2 years, we've explored different angles that have to do with personal growth, and we've been largely successful, and we continue one day at a time, baby steps, like I always say. Um, and for this 31 days to declutter and deconstruct your mind to gain clarity, I don't expect that at the end of 31 days, that's on the 31st of January, somebody will just have this eureka thing and say, okay, yes, I've truly, achieved or have attained. That's not necessarily what it is all about. It's just for you to identify, like, if you've been watching and you've been following, I'm always talking about ticking the boxes where it concerns you and seeing how you can evaluate, reevaluate, and assess yourself. It's all about unlearning to relearn. Like what I was always saying the first few days, I was always reminding us of something a great woman taught me years ago, and that's Apostle Ingo Organ. She reminded me of the philosopher John Locke, how he famously, said, anyone can learn anything at any age, learn it in steps. So that's basically what the Woman Called You is all about. We just learn in steps, hoping to get the best out of everything that is put before us. So today, day 25, we're saying attaining clarity. It's really been all about, gaining clarity. Everything that I've, shared here in the past 24 days or so has just been structured towards gaining mental clarity, to have our minds get to that point where we live in the present. We're not plagued by the spirit of buying and selling, whereby our minds are here and our bodies are here rather than our minds are all over the place. Yes, there's a place for imagination, but when it comes to living a life that is impactful, a life that is robust, you need to be present. All your faculties have to be working, together as a seamless whole for you to get the kind of energy you need to move on. So today, I'm saying we're beginning to learn how to attain clarity. And today, we'll be discovering what we call our reason for being. And when you talk about your reason for being, we're talking about discovering your sense of purpose. And when we talk about sense of purpose, that's why I'm using sense. Yeah, I'm using the word the sense of purpose. You know, it's in discovering your sense of purpose that you can begin to decide and work towards clarity of your purpose. But first, you must have a sense of purpose, and that's what we refer to as the reason for your being. One thing I want somebody to understand today is that the very first step to achieving whatever you want is for you to determine that you want that thing. You want something. Have you ever seen, I don't know, for those of you who have watched this movie, Alice in Wonderland, if you know of that story when the cat met her, and the cat asked her where she was going to. And she said that wherever the cat is going to. And the cat was like, it's not about where I'm going to. Where are you going to? And all of that. And Alice was just all over the place. She was totally all over the place. She had no idea, you know. And honestly, that day he just said to her, you know, because I'm trying to recall the thing now. Yes. So where are you going to? And she now was the one asking the cat, as in, where should I go? And the cat was saying to her, it depends on where you are going. And she said, well, I don't know. And then the cat said, then it doesn't matter wherever you go. Because why would you be going on a journey that you don't know your destination? Meanwhile, you just want to hop on any available vehicle going anywhere. And honestly, if you don't know where you are headed, anybody can take you anywhere. And that's the premise for our discussion today, really. That you must begin to know and understand, at least within the limits of your capacity, where you want to go to. And that's the reason for being. And that's why I said, before you can achieve anything, you must know and determine what it is you want to achieve. But then again, it is sad that for so many of us, wherever it is we are going to, it just remains, I'll just put it in the realms of fantasy. It's a blur. We have no idea how we want to accomplish that thing. We are unsure of the path to follow. And the first thing when we're talking about clarity, attaining clarity of purpose, you must be sure of the path you want to take. You must be clear. You must be intentional. I've been saying it in the past couple of weeks. There's a place for being very, very deliberate about the things you want to accomplish in life. But for these 31 days, I'm not talking about accomplishing goals. No. I'm just talking about the right mindset that will help you accomplish. That's why I'm talking about sense of purpose. You understand? And the moment you become intentional, the moment you know the things you want to accomplish in life, then you are beginning to understand what clarity of purpose is. Because clarity is light, shining, entering, knowledge. Because even the Bible says the entrance of the Lord, word's Lord, brings light. So clarity, imagine you've been in a dark place for a long time and there is illumination. If there was something sitting at the corner of the room and you probably had no idea, once light comes in and light is trained on that environment, you will see clearer, you will see that thing. And whatever successes it is we seek to get in life, the honest to God truth is this: it must start with a sense of purpose, a clarity of purpose. And that's what we call the reason for being, And because if you begin to do anything without knowing what you want, I fear, that there's no way you'll get it. And that's the truth. It's not, in fact, no matter how you try to, like I always say to people, no matter how you like to try to cast and bind, it is not an issue for casting and binding, and that's the truth. It's just simple. If you do not know what you want, anybody can bring anything and you will take it. Even little children, you see them when they are crying for a particular brand of biscuit. If you like, bring any other kind of brand, they won't take it because they are explicit and specific about what they want. You know, if we're preaching, I'll say they call it the law of specificity. You know what it is you want. They say that about God. God, there's no ambiguity with God. He knows what he wants. He knows what he wants you to do, like that. So, in fact, I can say he is the creator of clarity of purpose. We saw it when it came to building the ark. We saw it when it came to directing Mary, telling her through the angel expressly what was going to happen and all that. There's so many other examples like that that abound in scripture. So many other examples that abound in our environment. So you begin to understand that without knowing where it is you're going to. Imagine if Mary was not told she was going to give birth to the Messiah. She was just going to be pregnant. That would have been ambiguity. But she knew there was a destination. There was a purpose. In much the same way that even when Jesus said, "Oh, take this if you can take this cup from me," and all of that, he already knew what he was destined to do. So some people will call it predestination. But in this case, I always like to remind people that God has given us the freedom to choose. So it's in making the right choice. Remember, I've been talking about choice the last couple of weeks. It's in making the right choice, picking the right things, knowing how to go, knowing your destination, having clear directions, knowing that, see, if I don't decide on where it is I want to go to, I will end up nowhere. And nowhere is not a destination, because the fastest way to end up nowhere is to have no clarity, no clear-cut plans about what you want. I tell you, anything that comes your way, you respond. If they say, "Come, let's go here," just like when we talk about a rudderless person, somebody who doesn't have faith. "Let's go here," you will go. "Let's go here," you will come. It's a case of whatever comes my way. And I don't believe that we're built to respond to things like that. I believe that having a sense of purpose is very vital for achieving anything. And I just say making our dreams come true, So let's jump right into it. When we are talking about your reason for being, your RFB, it's just simply, understanding and knowing the things that will move you to that specific thing that you're angling for. And when you're talking about your reason for being, you can't afford to have reason for beings that are fake, or not fake, rather vague. Fakery will come much later in my discussion, maybe tomorrow or the day after. But you can't afford to have a reason for being that is ambiguous. Because if you have a reason for being that is ambiguous, like I said, you will end up nowhere. But guess what? If you have a reason for being that is set in stone, is tangible, I mean, push comes to shove, one can feel it. You will understand that in everything you will do in life, there will be the element of being purposeful. You will not waste time. You will not waste your energy. You will not have mental fatigue because you know that you are all set out to do this thing. You will be focused. And that's the first element of understanding your reason for being. You'll be focused. And one thing that your reason for being will do for you is your reason for being will keep you motivated. It will keep you motivated. It will make you understand your intentions on everything. And guess what? It's not rocket science. It's very easy. Leave this reason for being I'm mentioning. It's just simply, why do I exist? Why do I do the things I do? How do I get to living the life I'm meant to live? They might seem like simple questions, but the answers are oftentimes very difficult. And you know why? Your reason for being, say your name is Tony, can never ever be the reason for being of even your wife. Because you know what? Not even sets of twins, have the same reason for being. But so many of us, because especially with this advent of social media, bandwagon mentality, and the rest of it, we have become clones. So you see, there's depression, there is dissatisfaction. So many things have gone wrong because most people are just vicariously living their life through others, while other people are living the life that was, originally meant for others. We're just copying each other. We're just this. It's like originality has been thrown out of the window. And where there is no reason for being, there'll be too many fakery. Remember, I was talking about fake. There'll be so much fakery. And when there is so much fakery, you cannot have a purposeful life. Because I tell you, when you're living a life that is not yours, after some time, you begin to run out of speed. You begin to run many people on a particular plane to all be clones of each other. No. Everybody, one of the things about your reason for being, if you understand and you discover your reason for being, one of the first things that will happen to you is that you begin to truly see the unique blend of talents that was placed in you at creation. You will see your strengths, you will see your gifts, you will understand the perspective from which you act. Because most times your reason for being is tied to your personality. I'm telling you. And for each and every one of us here on planet Earth, it is our responsibility to use everything that has been put in us to discover our honest sense of purpose and then to follow through. So today, in exploring reason for being, that was just a preamble. I'm just going to talk or mention some things or some questions we need to examine to discover what our reason for being is. Because there's no way we can, proceed on this discussion of attaining clarity. Yes, I know it's more else like a teaching series, but when I share what I have to share today, you will now understand and maybe think deeper. And by the time you're watching the or the subsequent, feeds, it will be clearer to you because then you can connect. It's just like somebody who, wrote to me to ask in detail about the brain dumping. Of course, she had done it when we're now communicating, you know. It was easier for her because I said, before we talk about brain dump, go and listen to it properly, read up on it, then come, we will talk. Because it's, for me, it's not a quick fix solution. Like I said, it's not magic. You need to commit to building and developing yourself. Even for those who have asked me questions about emotional quotient, I'll refer you to the lady. Remember, I mentioned her some weeks ago, Lebari Upong, who is she's an aficionado, if I dare use that word, of emotional quotient. It's like she sleeps, wakes up, repeats emotional quotient. So what I'm just giving us here are fillers, things to scratch the ground that will make you begin to understand. So one of the key ways of first, beginning this journey of clarity of purpose, as in sense of purpose, not clarity of purpose in terms of achieving your goals. No, this is not a management forum. We're just simply, operating on the mental space, or in the mental space rather. So I need you to just take your pen and paper. We've come to that part of this thing. Let me quickly open. And you begin to take down these questions and begin to work on them. So hopefully by the time you're watching the next feed, that'll be day 26, you'll be able to understand more in depth and all of that. So when we're talking about your reason for being, the first thing is to look into and identify what your motivations are. And the first thing you need to find out, because when you find out all these things, you can have your answers. You are actually decluttering your mind, because where you had otherwise or previously not given it a thought, you understand, you're now beginning to just take things into cognizance, like I said, about being present. You're not just winging it as most of us will wing things. So the first thing you need to examine, and it's a question, it's a statement, whatever, but this is quite different from passion statements that we talked about a couple of days ago. The first thing you need to write down is the things you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? Forget what your friend is passionate about. Forget what your spouse is passionate about. Forget what your siblings are passionate about. Forget what your colleagues are passionate about. You, what is it that you are passionate about? That's the first question. You need to answer it. And you need to answer it because it's a key to actually unlocking your peace of mind. Some people are in jobs where they're so dissatisfied. You know, there's no satisfaction whatsoever. They are demotivated. They wish they could do something different. That's where we come to the next question. Remember, number one is, what is it that you are passionate about? I think I'll let me just quickly put it on the screen so it can always be. Sorry, I need to, for me to get. Yeah, let me just quickly. I thought I was going to be able to create banners before tonight, but sadly, let me just. What are you? What is it that you are passionate about? Okay, so that's the first one. I think I'll just put it. What is it that you are passionate about? And that's the truth. Not what your friend is passionate about, not what your brother, anybody know. What are you passionate about? You can always maybe just wing it, write down three things. Like we've always said, in the course of this thing, you need to prioritize which is more important. Put it that way. Don't just randomly think about it. What is it that you're passionate about? It doesn't have to be one thing. It doesn't have to be one thing. I was talking about unique talents. Some people are a bundle of talents. Put those things down. Don't feel under pressure. Don't be pressured to put it. Remember, you're the one. It's only you. It's you and that paper. It's you and that paper. Nobody's watching. Nobody's looking over your shoulder. It's you and that paper. What is it that you're passionate about? The next one, thankfully, I just quickly typed it. You need to say, what would you do for free if you could? What would you do for free if you could? I remember that when we're talking about what it is you're passionate about, I'm not saying skills, I'm talking what you're passionate about just off the bat. Whether you're doing it or you're not doing it already, it doesn't matter. Just put it. So, what would you do for free if you could? I know some people might already know this because some people that they'll tell you, even if I'm not paid, I don't mind. And those kind of things. Begin to list them. What would you do for free if you could? What would you do for free if you could? And that is nobody's going to pay you. Nobody's going to pay you. The third thing you should hope to answer is this. And you should, I mean, look deep, dig deep, so to speak, dig deep for this one. And thing that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. If you used to follow all the supermodels way back, I mean, this is a 1970 kid now, so of course, Naomi Campbell. Then when they were in their heyday, I think then I was either just the first year in uni or something, and they had this group of supermodels. There was Naomi Campbell, there was Christy Tollington, there was Claudia Schiffer. See, I'm remembering. There was Elle Macpherson. I don't know if who the fifth person was, but let me see. Naomi Campbell, Christy Tollington, Claudia Schiffer, Macpherson, they used to call her the body. Then, yes, the fifth one, Linda Evangelista. They used to be known to famously say, look, and this was 80s, we cannot get out of bed for anything less than $10,000. When they started it, people thought they were, but at the end of the day, it upped their game. They couldn't. They wouldn't. It's literally, they were not for anybody. So that was their reason to wake up in the morning. They knew that when they wake up in the morning, they were earning major pay. So at that point, that could have been one of the RFBs in terms of what motivates them. So this is the question now. Is there something that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning? Sometimes, usually negative things, you know, a junkie, you say if you're asking a junkie that's a drug abuser, what is the thing that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning? They'll tell you the next score, the next hit, you know, the next score, the next hit. Most people that are creatives, what is the reason? They just want to go to the studio. Like I remember when I just started off with headgear. Every time, or was it when I started with candling? I I, I used to look at, just let me just wake up early and do my candles, or wake up early and do my fascinators. So whatever it is, and if they say, is there something that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning? Usually, it's something you're already doing. So you understand now how the questions go. The first one, what is that you're passionate about? The fact that you're passionate about something does not mean you're actually doing it now. Probably for one or two, probably you don't have access. You can have somebody who used to love swimming very well, then goes to a place where there is no opportunity to swim. Doesn't mean that the passion dies. And that's one thing about passion. Passion is innate. So after you've written down that's one thing that gives you a reason to wake up in the morning, the next thing you need to look at is what skills. Have you seen the difference? Passion, different from skills. Some people can be so blessed that they have the prerequisite skills to feed their passion, but not so all the time. So now, what skills am I most drawn and attracted to? And when you write those skills that you are drawn and attracted to, you will go on. I don't want to jump the gun. We'll handle that tomorrow. But let me just give us small expo. When you are able to draw up the skills, you are most drawn and attracted to, what you now do usually next is to narrow down to realities, and it's kind of narrowing down your expectations, because you can't say I'm drawn to the skill of race driving, because race driving is a skill. You don't just enter. Most people mistake capacity with skill. They are two different things. You not just enter a car and start driving. You are drawn to race driving. Do you have the you start wondering, do I have the prerequisite skills, or am I equipped to begin to learn this, to pick up the skills? Will I also pass the health, because I believe they do health assessments and all that? Will I do all of that? It's just like somebody saying I'm drawn to the military, meanwhile you have club foot. It's not a realistic expectation. You understand? Or I'm drawn to flying. Meanwhile, you have bad eyesight. So you see, these things are things that will help you see and understand what your reason for being is. Understand? And if you now, for one reason or the other, understand and you discover what from what your answers to these questions, what these things are, you need to now sit down and begin to measure realistic standards. So when you're measuring, you're not, like I said to us, let's flee from wanting to just go into the realms of the fantastic. It doesn't work this way. You understand? Because everything that you've drawn up and the things you've been able to identify, you begin to see what motivates you. What motivates you? That's where you now start beginning to see, number one, you consider, do you have the power? Sometimes there are some decisions we can take because we have the autonomy for these decisions. I don't need to consult somebody to take a decision. I don't need to consult somebody to take a decision. You can just stand up. It happens with single ladies. You don't need to consult anybody. Oh, and I won't lie to you. I keep on telling people that's is just essentially one of the things I miss about being single. I had autonomy. I mean, even if my family will be aware, I'm just mentioning it to them because as a young adult, I didn't need to take permission. So it's even after you write all your reason for you're able to discover your reason for being by answering the questions you've answered. You must consider autonomy. Can you just stand up and just take a decision? The second thing you need to also look at, they call it relatedness. How the things or the decisions or the outcome of these questions you've answered, how does it relate to your present existence? Is it something that is doable? Because see, all of these things, how you answer them, how you respond to your answers, how you begin to work out on your answers, how you begin to ensure they happen, there'll be a great deal of demand to your mental state. There'll be a great deal of demand. So when you've looked at autonomy, can you take such decisions? Can you make such decisions and all that? Thankfully, the power is back. Your reason for being, your why. Hmm? When you can answer these questions, maybe you can call it a kind of mini brain dump, but it's not exactly a brain dump, because you are putting down positive things. Of course, brain dump has a lot of components, but the brain dumping technique I took us through was the dumping technique for negative, negative vibes. So like I was saying, when you decide where autonomy, the kind of autonomy that plays out in that your decision. The second thing you need to do is, like I said, relatedness. How does it relate to your present existence? Is it doable? Is it something you need to do a committee consultation? Remember, I said that when we're talking about mental weakness, you know. Then three, is it something that you are essentially, you know, competent, or you would have to seek avenues to build your competency? So you see, when you do this, you will now begin to know how and where to focus your energy. Remember, it's all about doing the right thing that will give you, you know, minimum stress at the end of the day. The right thing that will give you minimum stress. So, having taken us through that today and see the power, I just need to log off. I hope somebody has been able to learn something. I hope somebody is able to, you know, just stand up and try to begin to do your RFBs today, and tomorrow we will talk more. Good night and God bless you.